All right, Nate, thanks for coming in, man.
Absolutely, man.
This is awesome, dude. We were just saying it's going to be, we met each other virtually
Yeah.
about a week ago now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be really cool, getting to know your business, getting to know you a little bit. So how we usually start these is, something that we've seen and learned from all of our other vendors is people come from such different walks of life
Right.
before they got into home services. So give us a little background, man. Give us some background on you, how you got started in this business, where you're from. Just kind of let's start from there.
Yeah. So I was born in Florida. Shortly after my parents moved up to Georgia, lived there for a few years, moved to Franklin, and then a few years later moved out to Cannon County, which is Woodbury area. It's like 20 minutes outside of Murfreesboro.
Okay.
Yeah, in the country.
Yeah.
So we had several acres out there.
Nice.
That's essentially where I grew up, spent most of my upbringing. And now I'm in Murfreesboro and been there ever since. That's where me and my wife, we live.
Nice.
And our baby. We just had our first baby back in October.
Congrats, man.
Yeah.
How's that been?
It's been, oh man, I love it.
Yeah.
I love being a dad. It's taught me a lot about myself.
Huh.
It's taught me a lot about the things I have to work on. But the most beautiful thing is getting to see my wife, transform to not just being a wife, but also to a mother now.
Yeah.
And seeing that kind of like natural transition that she has and like how loving she is and everything towards him.
That's cool,
So,
man.
Yeah. So that's kind of my upbringing as to where I grew up. Now the carpet cleaning side of things, it's actually really cool. Growing up, I originally wanted to be an engineer.
Okay. What kind of engineer?
I wanted to do a bunch of engineering. I went to a local community college for mechatronics engineering. That was where I was going to start. But things kind of happened. God kind of transformed some things in my life, and ended up not going there, going that route. And then it was kind of trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So at the time, right out of high school, I started working for the city of Murfreesboro. Working for the street department, and as a part-timer, did a bunch of the grunt work, weed eating for 8 hours during the day, and
Ooh.
yeah, it was brutal.
That's brutal.
It was brutal because we weren't just weed eating. We would weed eat like the retention ditches, and the grass would be like knee deep in some of the areas.
Dude.
So you'd have snakes, and grass would be really thick around all that stuff.
You're just changing the string like 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh yeah, but they also had like the really really thick stuff too.
Yeah,
so
commercial grade stuff.
So then went from there and started doing working as a part-time for the maintenance department, because I had a lot of history in my upbringing with my dad. We did a lot of carpentry stuff. My dad is jack of all the trades type of guy. Anything from working on cars to IT to anything else. So like we started doing like building pergolas early. Like I was like 8 years old whenever we did that. We built out a game room at the farmhouse. It started with one piece of subflooring, built it into a whole full game room, which was like 800 square foot.
Oh, no kidding.
So love that different type of stuff. So started working for the maintenance department, but I was still going to school. Because I didn't have the direction, it was really hard to kind of focus and everything. So I ended up stopping college, and this actually, Oxi Fresh, was actually my first full-time job.
No kidding.
Yeah. So the guy that used to own it, which he is an amazing guy. So my buddy actually worked for him for a few months, and then ended up getting a position for a different company, which left this one available. And he was like, hey, like I would stay here, but I got an amazing offer. So I met with the former owner. We really clicked, and so I decided to join him. Worked for him for a couple years, but because we were a smaller business, we didn't have benefits and stuff like that. I ended up getting hurt too, so I was out for a few weeks.
Like on the job?
On the job.
Damn.
And the unfortunate part about that was because like it was tile and grout. And like I was bent over for a long period of time, and whenever I stood up, like my lower back is kind of at an arch.
Yeah.
And when I stood up, my back completely locked. So,
Dude.
yeah, I was.
How long were you out for?
At least 2 weeks.
Oof.
Yeah.
Just like on the couch. Laid
Yeah.
up.
Oh yeah. I mean, I couldn't even stand up straight.
Oh my gosh.
It was rough. So ended up needing to leave to get better benefits and stuff like that. So worked a couple different odd jobs. Was in the car sales. Didn't really like the car sales business. And then worked at a car wash. And then got offered a job at a handyman home remodeling business. So worked down there, loved that stuff. But I always knew that I kind of wanted to own my own business after, the transformation from going to engineer. I always wanted to pursue that, but I didn't know what.
Right.
So I kept the guy that used to own this business as kind of like a mentor, and we just became really, really close.
Yeah.
Kind of viewed me as like one of his own kids and all that stuff. So we kept a relationship. We meet up a couple times a year, and so we met up one time, and he was like, what are you doing now? And so I told him I was working for the handyman business. Had benefits because my wife is a teacher. So she gets really good benefits and all that stuff. So didn't need to worry about all that.
Yeah.
We met up, and I told him what I was doing. He's like, oh, man, I didn't know you could do all that stuff now and all that. And so he texted me like later that night and was like, hey, let's meet up again. So like a week goes by, we meet up, and he slides me a piece of paper and is like, hey, I want you to come back, and I want you to, run this business for me, and this is my offer.
Yeah.
And it was just too amazing of a offer to pass up. So I ended up coming back. And so that was in 2021. And that's whenever, for like the first 6 months after being back, he not only, because I still knew all the stuff, because once you learn carpet cleaning, it's not hard to get back to.
Right.
But that first 6 months, he now focused on me running this business.
Instead of doing the actual work, he's like, all right, let's get you involved in the business.
So let me teach you all the other stuff that you really need to know.
Nice.
So anywhere from inventory and meeting with new clients and all that. The
sales process.
Yeah, all the stuff, which I loved. I thrive on growth.
Learn something new, yeah.
Exactly. I thrive on growth. Love growing. And so I did that for 2.5 years for him.
Nice.
And he announced to me several months ago, if not a year or so ago, that he wanted to step back because he was doing too much, and he just wanted, he wanted to kind of retire or not have so much responsibility.
Right.
And so he made me an incredible offer. At the time, though, my church was also had made me an offer to come be part of their ministers in training program, which is essentially to become a pastor. So literally within 2 weeks, I not only had one, but I had two absolutely amazing directions to go.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that I had to choose from those two in particular, but they're like dreams to me.
Right.
So a lot of praying,
Yeah.
a lot of stress, and a lot of worry and stuff like that because I didn't want to make the wrong decision. But ultimately, the reason I decided to go this route was because, one, he made me absolutely an incredible offer. But that was like bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
It was more so that I could make my own schedule, which meant I had more time for my wife, which meant I had more time for, at that time when we did have a kid, and I could just kind of grow a business and kind of just do my own thing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was the time process for me.
Right.
And I loved that part. Whereas I love this, I loved the church and stuff like that. Ministry is also every place that we go. So one of the reasons I love doing this is because I get to go into people's homes. I get to hear people's testimonies. I get to hear their walk of life, and I get to kind of essentially just love on them. And that's why I absolutely love this type of business, is because it's not just people. It's not people coming to me. It's people inviting me into their home. Right. And people are the most vulnerable that they are because they're in the comfort of their own home. Right. Which means I could have really, really cool conversations. Not just, from the religious side of things, but just hearing people's testimonies, hearing people how they got to Middle Tennessee or how they got to where they are in life and all these different things. So love it. Yeah, man. Absolutely love it. So
there's a lot of trust in that too.
There is. There is.
Someone's letting you into their home. It's
Yep.
it's a big thing.
And if somebody's been burned in the past, then you have to completely break down a wall and
Regain
kind of
trust.
Exactly, which can be incredibly hard.
Dude, yeah, and like it's at this point with home services, it's not if, but it's how many times have they been burned by a bad
Right.
company?
Right.
You know, which is like, thanks for touching on that, because that's a huge part of why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Is where I have my passion lies in trying to change some of that stigma
Mm-hmm.
that's associated with home services.
Right.
You know, I think people who are not involved in that area probably think a certain thing about those companies, right?
Yeah.
They might think it's a hobby turned into a job, or
Yeah.
it's not a serious business, where in fact it couldn't be more of the opposite.
Right.
Right? It's people who are not only incredibly passionate about their product and doing a great job,
Yeah.
but they're 99% of the time incredibly smart,
Mm-hmm.
and they're also making a killing,
Yeah.
which is like probably depending on who you're talking to, either the least important or one of the most important.
Right.
But I think it's important to note.
Yeah.
Because I think that does drive really good people into this industry,
Mm-hmm.
because they see an opportunity to make a good business and make some money.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen unless you have those other two things too.
Right.
Just caring about your people, caring about your customer, caring about the product. So,
Yeah.
part of our goal with these types of conversations is to start to slowly change that stigma
Right.
and give people like you and every other great business owner that we know the opportunity to talk direct to customers, and and they need to hear from all of us and know kind of who's coming to their home and what they can expect.
Absolutely.
So you kind of been around the block as far as home services. Honestly,
Yeah.
You've done a lot in the home service industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is a lot of that skill from just growing up with a dad who could do that stuff, or are you pretty? I mean, you wanted to be an engineer. You're probably very mechanically inclined, and you kind of think in processes and systems.
Right.
So you just have a natural tact for some of that stuff, a natural ability, or how did that come about?
I kind of go into every single job like that I work at with, if I'm going to do this industry, I want to work and learn how to be the best.
Right.
How can I put myself above others? Not just our competition, but even like employees. Like if I'm gonna be an employee for this business, I want to grow, I want to excel, and I want to be the difference. How can I make this business better? So that's where kind of like I love hands-on stuff. I cannot sit on at a desk.
Yeah.
Cannot do it. That has been my biggest struggle with being a business owner, is because it's a lot more in front of a desk.
Yes.
And that's the part that I struggle with, is sitting still long enough and doing all that, all the emails, all the Excel spreadsheets, and I know how to do it. It's just
you don't like it.
Yeah, and I get so distracted, and like there's all these other different things. I'd rather be out doing it.
Right.
So I kind of learned, each different task and how to best do it to my best abilities. This job, whenever I first worked down here, it taught me a lot. It taught me the sales training that I really needed. It taught me marketing. It taught me all these different things. Then I went and did, like I said, the car sales, which is sales again, which unfortunately sales is something that you have to have.
Right.
Like you got to be able to grow.
100%.
Got to be able to grow. And so kind of like I took every different one and was like, all right, how could I be the best at this? How can I grow at this? How can I apply this and do things differently as well? So
nice. Yeah, the sales piece in home services, I think, is it's often overlooked.
Yeah.
But it's also super easy because you're not selling like used cars.
Right.
Right. You're selling something that somebody needs.
Yeah.
And as long as you have a great product,
right,
as in like for your instance, as long as you do a good job, then the next sell is easy, right? Because then it starts to kind of roll downhill for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So the admin stuff, all that, everybody, I can't stand that stuff either. What's your favorite part of the business? If you could choose, what would you spend time on every single day?
Oh man. Probably being in people's homes.
Yeah.
I love the residential. Yeah, I love people.
Yeah.
I love talking to people. I love getting to know people. Being in Nashville, you never know who you're also going to end up running into.
That's true.
The great thing about this job is that every single house is different in their own way. So even though I've been doing this for a grand total of probably 5 years now, there's still stuff that pops up
Right.
that I have to be like, oh shoot, I gotta redirect, I gotta figure this out.
Every job's different.
Exactly.
Every customer's different. They
Yep.
have different expectations.
Right.
Makes it really hard in home services to have those systems in place as a business to where you can count on consistency because, in the Army, they say like no plan survives first contact. It's kind of like that when you're walking into somebody's home.
Right.
I'm sure you've walked into some crazy homes.
Yeah, man, I could write a book over some of the stuff that I've encountered, man.
Yes. That could be a podcast on its own. Just
it
what's
could.
your craziest custom? Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yep.
When we were in restoration, it's some gnarly stuff, dude.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It really opened my eyes to honestly, how different people's home maintenance expectations are.
Yeah.
That's the nicest way I can put it.
Yep. That is the nicest way to put it, man. Yep.
Because it is shocking. So what's y'all's team look like? You guys got some techs, or are you doing it all, or how does that look?
It's me and another guy right now. He's been with me for about 2 months. He's doing a absolutely killer of a job.
Nice.
I made sure with this guy, I made sure to make my best offer to him because I knew that I knew his ability, his work ethic is good. I knew his ability to talk to people, to random people, was amazing. I knew that he could be comprehensive and he can learn pretty quick.
Nice.
In the 2 months that he's been with me, he hasn't had any redos at all.
No kidding.
Yeah, which in this industry is
incredible.
Is incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. It's normal to have within your first couple months.
Come back out.
Yeah, be like, and it's not even that the customer's mad. It's like, hey, would you mind hitting this again? I'm not sure if it was or what happened. Now, there's been a couple things that we had to work through.
Yeah.
But that's every single thing. I'm not expecting him to be a perfect technician right off the bat.
Right.
But yeah, it's me and him. He takes the brunt of the jobs, and I'll kind of take the overflow and stuff like that.
Nice.
So.
Oh, very cool, dude. Where'd you find him?
Actually, at my church.
Yeah.
I had known him for a while. We became pretty close. A lot of people say not to hire friends and stuff like that, but as the former owner of this business used to say, is the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't.
Yeah.
So I knew where we would need to work and stuff like that. I knew he was younger, but at the same time also knew the potential behind him as well.
Nice.
So
you see him kind of moving into a management role at some point?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely.
He's just learning the craft now, be able to manage a couple teams later on.
Exactly. And that's what I told him. I said, before, obviously, you're going to help me grow this business. But, we're going to have to take that time and, make the effort into it and stuff like that. But you're going to be the one running it.
Yeah.
You're going to be my guy.
Yep.
You're the one that I want to be at the top of this.
Dude, it's so important, and it's a common thread in all these conversations, which is the people who are a little further in business and have had some success. The one thing they go to is they found their right hand man.
Yeah.
And whatever it took to get them there, and choosing that person's important.
It's extremely important because you can't do this just yourself. You cannot run a big business by yourself.
No.
You have to find that person, and again, that's why I put my best offer forward for him, was because I knew his capability and I know his potential. So I wanted him.
Yeah.
He was the guy from the get-go. He helped me with a couple different hotels and stuff like that, but he was the dude that I saw the potential in. So I made sure that I did the best I possibly could.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. What are your goals for the business?
Numbers wise, or?
Yeah, let's go numbers wise, if you're comfortable with that.
I have different levels of goals.
Okay.
So I have the 1 year goal. I would like to do our biggest year ever, which was a couple of years ago. In 2022, we had 2 technicians running. We did 150 something thousand.
Nice.
I would like to exceed that. That's by the end of this year.
Yep.
Obviously, bigger the growth, the happier I'd be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have a 5-year goal, I have a 10-year goal. I always have that goals in place. Ultimate goal would be, obviously bringing in at least a 7-figure business and stuff like that. But again, you have to have that patience.
Yeah.
You can't get too big for your britches so quick that you can't, handle what you've got.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, you can definitely grow too quickly, increase your overhead too quickly, and then it can end up hurting you.
Yeah.
That's for sure. What's y'all's average size ticket?
It really just depends.
Couple hundred?
Yeah, it's about 250.
That is a 150 grand on 250 average is a ton of work.
Yeah, well, full honesty, I was not expecting, so I officially took this business over in February.
Okay.
I was not expecting to have to hire somebody so quick, but there's a few things that we needed to tweak as soon as I took it over, especially with our Google stuff. And so as soon as I did that, we saw an increase in jobs.
Nice.
And it was just me, so I was averaging between 3 and 5 jobs every single day.
Oh.
And you average 3 to 5 jobs every single day, plus you go home.
And then you work.
And then you're also, I'm also married. And then I'm also a father. I'm also having I also have a baby, so like sleep is like kind of out the window right now, depending on the night. So it was a lot. I mean, we managed to almost have our biggest March ever, and I was closed for 8 days to go to Disney. So
damn.
Yeah.
When did you hire your guy?
April 22nd.
Nice.
Yeah, and like he knew that I was just drowning.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I needed you like a month ago.
Yes.
So, but yeah, he's been great, absolutely great.
That's awesome, dude. So what's your goal as far as people? Would you like to be a little off the business, more working on it instead of in it, or are you happy kind of still in a truck every once in a while? What does that look like for you?
I mean, I'm good either way. I like to be hands-on.
Yeah.
I feel like owners need to be as hands-on as possible too, because they can't forget the craft that they started.
Yeah.
I would love to end up having both a commercial division and a residential division, and having 3 or 4 guys per each one of those.
Nice. The commercial division would be, because that's where you get those contracts in place, right?
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What are y'all services?
So we offer, obviously, carpet cleaning. Carpet cleaning, we're very low moisture, so we use 95% less water than traditional steam cleaning and stuff like that.
How's that?
So we use a machine, what's called a CRB, which is counter-rotating brushes.
Okay.
And then a lot of it is in the product that we use. Everything that we use is 100% safe for pets and kids and stuff like that. We don't have to leave your doors propped open and running hoses all throughout the house. You don't have to leave your windows, and it dries in typically about an hour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's the carpet cleaning side of things. We do upholstery. Upholstery takes a little bit longer because you have to shoot the water in and extract it all at the same time.
Right.
We're getting into more tile and grout. We used to do tile and grout, but after I got hurt, we're like, we're done with that one for a while.
Yeah.
But I want to get back into it. I want to make sure that we have the proper equipment, so that I can make sure that nobody's going to get hurt and all that stuff. So I want to get into that part. We offer deep penetrating urine extraction. We offer spotting kits. We have full sanitizer.
What's a spotting kit?
Spotting kit is for those spots that are a lot harder. Typically they're like dyes or red wine, slime is
coffee.
Coffee's not nearly as bad, actually.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of our products will break down all natural proteins. So our enzyme will break down most natural proteins. So.
I have I had one of my buddies, piece of shit. He spilled a ton of coffee on our white carpet, and we've just covered the stain up. So as soon as we launch the app, I'm gonna get you out to see if you can come take care of it.
My wife, God, I love her. While she was pregnant, she had an obsession for the cherry limeade from Sonic, and so naturally, if your wife gets something while she's pregnant, you gotta go get something.
You gotta get it.
Yeah. So I went and got a cherry limeade, and I brought it home, and then I went and was going to do something, and then 5 minutes later, she's like, "Hey, babe, and can cherry limeade come out of the carpet?" And I was like,
Are you asking for a reason?
It depends on how bad it is. And she's like, it's like the full cup. So I went out there, of course. I mean, this bill was massive. So I had to get all of our stuff, and I extracted it while it was still fresh. But I mean, even the other day, I knocked her coffee off
Yeah.
the stand, and it went all over. And she's like, "Guess you need to clean our carpets."
Yeah, dude. She's like, you know any good carpet cleaners?
Uh huh.